Hey everyone, welcome back to Shop Life. We're still working on this Copart M3, but guess what? We're almost there at the stage of doing some real modifications. As you guys know, we've just been catching up on mostly maintenance. We did the SMG conversion, and I'm sure you guys have already read the title. So we're gonna be installing big brakes on here. We're also gonna be installing some KW V3 coilovers. I'm so excited. Honestly, I can't wait to get all this stuff on there. Even though I know a lot of people have been commenting and even messaging me on Instagram and TikTok wondering when we're actually gonna do the cosmetic repairs. But as you guys know, this is a 2006 BMW M3. And with it being a BMW M3, as you guys know, the prices are skyrocketing. And I just don't feel comfortable doing any of these cosmetic repairs because, you know, if the guy ever wants to resell the car, you want to have all this stuff documented, done by a professional body shop. So we're going to leave all of the body work to the professionals. So I've already got some of the parts for him, but we will get updates as he gets all that stuff repaired. We're just doing all the mechanical restoration and getting all these goodies installed, all the mods and upgrades. But he's going to have a body shop do the rest of the actual cosmetic stuff. But I hope that answers a lot of questions. If it was my car, obviously, you know, I would love to show that whole process of getting that tail panel replaced. But for now, let me get the rest of this stuff installed so we can start with those big brakes and the coilovers. All right, so we're finally at the point where we're gonna start doing some upgrades. So we're gonna do the KW V3 coilovers on here first. The owner of the car, he bought a set of used KW V3s as well as a Dynon big brake kit. So we're gonna be installing that front and back. We're gonna start right here in the front and we're gonna put the KW V3s. This is all stock suspension. None of this stuff has been replaced. And the brakes are due for a change anyway, so I guess we're knocking everything all out at once. All right, so I'm actually really excited to get this car lowered and get these big brakes on here and see how they look. So I'm just gonna get right to it. All right, so we got the coilovers on, probably the easiest coilover install ever. As you guys saw, all this stuff, since it was used, all this stuff's already put together. We're still gonna do all the height adjustments, all that stuff later, including these sway bar links. I still gotta tighten those later. First, we gotta finish the other side as well. But while we're already here, might as well put the big brakes on. So with the big brake kit, which is also used, it came with stainless steel brake lines as well. So I'm gonna just disconnect this brake hose. We already have most of the brake reservoir emptied out. Because, you know, we're doing that SMG conversion and all of that as well. So, I mean, I guess it's just perfect time for everything, honestly, since we're doing it all at once. We don't have to keep opening the brake system. We're just gonna have to bleed it once. It's gonna have all new fluid, the stainless steel lines and all of that. It's gonna be really good. So first things first, I'm gonna go and remove the brake line and hopefully we don't make too much of a mess. Now, whenever you're working on brake hoses, you want to use a flare nut wrench. That way you don't strip any of those fittings. Because if you strip it, it's gonna be a long day. course. So I haven't stripped them yet, but they're pretty tight on there. So I'm gonna try to put some PB Blaster on it and see if it, loosens it up. We still have other stuff we gotta take off in the meantime. Making that hole bigger so the bit is starting to slip. So I ended up stripping this one. So I had to hammer on a Torx bit, a T40, and I used the big impact to get it out. I'm glad that came out, otherwise I have to drill it out. But now we just got to replace it. This one barely came out. We're going to replace this one as well though. Now, I always like taking out the set screws before you take the caliper and all that off. That way you can use the rotor to hold it in place. So you don't have to worry about, it slipping or the rotor spinning while you're trying to take the bolts out. Now I'm just gonna let it sit there snug. That way the rotor still stays on the hub while we take all of this stuff off. Now let's just hope this rotor isn't seized onto the hub. Now you want to put a lug on here when you're doing that, just in case if it does pop out with force, you don't hurt yourself. Now, like I said before, these rotors, the whole big brake kit is used. It's the Dynon kit for the E46 M3, and these rotors are kind of ready to be replaced. So the good thing about these big brake kits is they're two-piece rotors. So you can buy this outer ring separately. The owner of the car does not want to do that right now, just because, they are very expensive, and the car's probably still going to be sitting for a while. But he did go ahead and buy new brake pads because the big brake kit didn't come with pads. So we've got new pads going on here, but these rotors will eventually be replaced. So it's pretty late, and I'm just gonna put these on for right now. The new ones will come here in the morning. So for right now, we'll put this. I can also put a lug on and just tighten it down all the way and I'll hold it in place. But we have this, and I'm just not gonna tighten it all the way. But now you can hear that the dust shield is hitting the back of this. So we need to figure out where it's hitting and clearance it. And we're good. Let's get rid of these smaller, heavier ones. Get these bigger, lighter ones on here. And they're red, so that means plus 10 horsepower, right? There we go. Now let's get the new pads on here. Alright, so I'm not going to tighten down the brake lines or any of that right now. I just have it sitting there, hand tight. We still got to do all the other ones. And then before we fill up with fluid, I'll go through all that and double check all the torque on everything else as well. Make sure all that is good to go. So, but for right now, we're just going to move on to the back. And I think we're going to have some challenges in the back here. I'm not entirely sure because the dust shields, whenever you put a big brake kit on, the dust shields usually have to be modified, removed, or whatnot. And I mean, the front felt like everything was good. I just had to push back a part of it, just bend it back, and it's been good. The back, however, you can see how small the caliper is on the back. And the one that's going on there is probably double its size. So I'm pretty sure we're going to have to modify that dust shield. Hopefully we don't have to remove it, but we're going to find out here shortly. And I can already tell these shocks and everything are just blown completely. So this is going to be a good upgrade. And I really love the KW V3 coilovers. I know they're a little bit expensive, and I personally don't have them on any of my cars because they're so expensive, but I've installed quite a few. I've driven quite a few cars with those coilovers, and they are amazing. Obviously, there's still more expensive coilovers than that, and there's definitely cheaper ones than that. But I mean, KW just has their stuff on point, honestly. And the V3s are the top of the line. They're perfect. And I feel like the V3s do really well on heavier cars too. Because usually whenever you go with a cheaper coilover on a heavier car, let's say like a 5 Series or an X like an SUV, the cheaper coilovers compensate for that weight. Instead of upgrading their dampers and making all that stuff higher quality, they just put a stiffer spring. And the KWs, they actually have a very good damper. And it just, I mean, it's all the adjustability and all that. You can actually tell a difference when you make some of the adjustments as compared to some of the other coilover brands. Anyway, let's get to installing these coilovers. I'm just hoping I don't have to cut too much out of that dust shield, especially if I have to remove it. I'm gonna be really mad because that means I have to pull off the whole wheel hub and change all the bearings. Oh, that's just gonna be a huge ordeal. Hopefully we just have to modify a little bit, or we don't have to modify it at all. Wait a second, you know one thing that I didn't think of? We're putting these big brakes on, right? But the wheels. I mean, I think there's enough space for this one because it's 9.5, but it's a staggered set of wheels. So the fronts are, I believe, 8.5. Oh. I know they're 19s, so they're gonna clear this way. I'm just worried about the offset. Especially those front calipers, they definitely stick out quite a bit more. Oh man. But you know, if that is the case, I've got a solution. Spacers. Spacers can fix anything, but it's gonna just be harder for the owner of the car, just because he's probably gonna have to get a different offset competition wheel for the front if he doesn't want to run spacers. I usually don't like running spacers because some of the spacers, they're just not completely true. And I've experienced it quite a bit, where whenever you put spacers on, you start getting these unwanted vibrations and stuff like that. And especially if you have to run those extended lugs and all that, if you don't get a really good quality spacer, you're risking, you know, having those vibrations, or even worst case, something breaks. But hopefully we're good. We'll find out once we get all these done, then we'll test fit the wheels. But for that, you're gonna have to wait till the end of the video. All right, what should we do first? Coilovers or brakes? Y'all decide. All right, coilovers it is. All right, let's see how bad these shocks are. They've definitely seen better days. And these are the originals from 2005, November 2005. Guys, can't stress this enough. Shocks, struts, 60,000 miles tops. They're gone. The rest of the resistance or sportiness that you're feeling, or like stiffness that you're feeling, is all spring. 60,000 miles is usually when these struts and shocks are done. Now KW recommends putting the adjuster on the top. So that's how we're going to do it. So as I said, these coilovers were used, and they actually came with the Rogue Engineering mounts. So we've got the Rogue Engineering mounts on the top, and then we have this that comes from the trunk, so you never have to go back in the trunk to remove your shock. You can just take it out from right here. Now it's time for the brakes. All right, cross our fingers. Let's hope these come out. Haha. Now here's a size comparison. So here's the big brake one. So as you can see, it's not a huge difference, but there is still a good amount more material. Now let's see if this rotor fits this dust shield. Ooh. Like it was made for it. Except I do hear rubbing. But I think that's something that we could just adjust. But let's check the caliper. Ooh, I was right. You can see it's hitting the dust shield right here. See how it's hitting right here? It's hitting right here a little bit. I think that I just pushed it in. And then the bottom, yeah, it's hitting there as well. So I think we're gonna have to cut some of this dust shield. Luckily we don't have to remove the whole thing, because if we remove the whole thing, this whole e-brake assembly actually runs off of this dust shield. So all the stuff attaches to that. So then we have to figure out another solution for that. I mean, worst case scenario, if you had to cut it, you could just cut all the way around. That way, all of this stuff is gone, but it stays right there. But I think the rotor will fit fine. We might just have to bend a couple spots, but the caliper, we're definitely gonna have to cut this corner a little bit, and same with the bottom one. Let's do that. So the dust shield, as long as we don't cut into any of the e-brake section, is not really something that's a big deal. The main point of it is to, stop the dust, obviously, from debris and dust to get in, and also to keep a lot of the moisture out, because you don't want your rotors to, let's say you go through a puddle, you don't want them to get completely soaked and be fully under, So, or even splashing while you're driving in the rain, the tire is going to be throwing up, when all the water is going to be splashing around everywhere. The dust shield prevents some of it from getting on the back of the rotor. All right, let's cut it. No matter how fast you can pull away, you'll always want to wear protection, okay? Because it's only a matter of time. Even if your pull-out game is very strong, if this disc breaks and goes in your eye, you're pretty screwed. Ideally, you want to wear a full face protection, but right now I only have these. So barely touching this corner right here. Perfect. Show them the clearance. No more rubbing. All right, so we got the brakes completely finished all around. So coilovers, brakes, all four corners are all done. I also went ahead and just bled the brakes because all that stuff is boring. You guys really don't care about that. So we got all that stuff done. Now is the fun part. We're gonna test fit the wheels. We're gonna lower the car down, see what the ride height is at. Then we'll start tinkering with it before we preload and torque everything down. So let's start right here. Let's go ahead and put this wheel on. Now, I have my doubts. I don't think it's gonna fit because these are not as concave as the back wheels. These are only 8 wide. Yeah, so they're 19 by 8. And you can see how far the caliper actually sticks out compared to the hub. But we'll try it anyways and see what happens. Yep. It's not even sitting on the hub yet, it's already hitting. Let's try some spacers. So here's some Burger Motorsports hub-centric spacers. These are 18s. Let's see how they fit. Ooh, perfect. I think we might even be able to get away with like a 15, but that might be pushing it. For now, we just gotta get these on here. That way, the owner has something to actually roll around on. It's time to put it back on the ground. Hopefully it's not too low. Let me get it off of the lift completely so we can make sure that the front is not too low compared to the back. Well, it's actually almost spot on. I think I'll probably raise the front a couple revolutions. And it's probably gonna settle a little bit still. Not too much because these are KW V3s, they don't usually settle too much. And besides that, I mean, that's the new ride height. I like it. I would definitely leave it at that. I might even lower the back a little bit more just to make it even with the front, but that's just me. I don't know how the roads are for where he lives. That big brake kit though, you know, I've never really been a huge fan of big brake kits. I think that you can always get, you know, different pad combinations with different types of rotors and make, you know, the normal E46 M3 brakes get to your power level. I mean, this car is mostly stock. Even if it was like around 500-600 horsepower, I feel like the actual stock E46 M3 brakes can handle it with the proper rotor and pad combo. But it looks amazing. Honestly, like it fills in the wheels so much better, especially with these are 19s, and it just fills them in amazing. Even especially the front. The front looks on point. Kind of makes me want some big brakes, but I don't have money like that. Look at the front, like Like, just look at that clearance. Just, oh my God. Man. Now, something I haven't told you guys is we're actually going to be delivering this car to the owner. So, like I said before, he has not seen this in person yet. He's only seen it through the videos and any pictures I've sent him and on the auction site. So, this is the first time that he's actually going to see it when we drop it off. But before that, we still have to turn it on. But that's it for this video. See you guys in the next one where we actually turn the car on for the first time after all of that work. Rod bearings, vanos, SMG conversion, all of that. We pretty much went through every little thing that we could have. So it's going to be pretty exciting for the first startup, and we'll see you guys in that next video. Thank you guys for watching.